It is midnight right now. You know, it's going to be good times here, man. Winter break starting, Christmas and all of that. However, something I'm really looking forward to, I haven't watched it yet, and I know it just went out in theaters, is the movie Sonic 3. So this is how I think the movie should go. I think it already got out in theaters today. Didn't it? Yep. I'm really excited for the movie. So, I haven't really watched this yet, and I'm trying to avoid spoilers, man. I heard a lot of hype around the final credit scene, so, you know what? Why stop stalling? Let's get into it. So here's how I think the movie Sonic 3 should go. So first, it starts out with by the way, before I get into this, I just want to tell you, I have not really played any of the Sonic games or anything, so it's not like I really know anything. So this is how I think it should go, and this is probably going to make a lot of the hardcore Sonic fans mad. However, this is just how I think the movie should go. I like watching the movies. It's just never really played the games because the games are, well, just kind of too old for me. I mean, they're made in like the 1980s, so yeah, kind of just too old for my time. Anyways, I feel like it should first start out with just Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Maybe just kind of having some fun, kind of everything is fine kind of mood. And very, everything is fine kind of mood and just chilling out, relaxing. And I feel like they should just start it out with kind of some Christmas theme. Maybe they go to a Christmas mall or something. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. Alright. I feel like they should do something for a Christmas movie. Because since this is kind of built around the Christmas movie, I mean, it's made and its release day is right during the holiday season, so I mean, that's something you gotta capitalize on. In the trailer, they literally showed a scene where Eggman, Dr. Eggman or whatever, Dr. Robotnik, he has thousands of names that everyone would call him, was in a Christmas sweater, and then he saw Santa Claus. I don't know, it was a goofy scene in the trailer. I don't want something weird like that. I just want casual Christmas vibes, you know? Maybe it could even snow a bit. And then of course we cut back to the scene of that one coffee guy that's Eggman's friend. Anyways, yeah, that coffee guy I'm talking about, I don't really know his name. He's kind of a side character, even though he plays kind of an important role. I don't really know. He's not an important character, and I've never known a guy who makes coffee just roaming around in the Sonic games. Anyways, so we see him. He discovers some of other of Robotnik's technology. Eggman, Robotnik, basically the same name. Honestly, they're both kind of just strange, long names. Kind of just prefer a nice shorter name. Let's just call him Dr. R, alright? Let's call that Robotnik's guy Dr. R, alright? It's just a lot shorter and easier to say. So he discovers Dr. R technology, and he's able to use it to bring him back to life. And since the coffee guy's like laying low, that was in the post-credit scenes for Sonic 2. And then after that, Dr. R and that coffee guy meet up again. And then the coffee guy shows Dr. R something that he discovered, and then he ends up bringing Dr. R the Project Shadow. Now this is the part where like there's other like people there surrounding the place, and then Dr. R notices a familiar face. It's the Dr. R's dad person. I don't really know who he is. I just saw him in the trailers. Like I said, I like the movies. I just haven't been a person that's played the games. So, sorry if it's kind of just sound weird talking about this, because I don't really know these characters. So, anyways, Dr. R's dad, we'll just call him QRS. So, the letter S comes after R, so we'll just call him Dr. S. Actually, that says Dr. R's grandpa. So, we'll just call him Dr. G. There we go. Alright, so Dr. G ends up saying that they end up having a reuniting. Dr. R asks where he's been. He said that he's been working on something very important that he'll have to show him later. And that after that, he says that him and Dr. R can try breaking into it later in the night and some stuff, like he has to show him something important first. Because, like, there's guards there, like it's the middle of the day still. Sorry, guys, my nose is kind of stuffy, So, Dr. G takes Dr. R to his lab. Dr. G tells Dr. R that he's been really laying low, and he's been able to even use one of his inventions to travel to another universe to take a Chaos Emerald. Does that make sense? So basically, he has a Chaos Emerald, however, it's not the Chaos Emerald that's on Earth, and that they're going to use this to power this machine. Obviously, you can see right here, it's Metal Sonic. I think we're all going to know that when the movie first starts. I mean, he kind of just has to be in the movie for the plot. So it's going to be like, picture this, alright? It's not going to be Metal Sonic at first. It's going to be a dark chamber, like all the lights out and stuff. And then all you're going to see is like the glowing red eyes. They're just going to be like right there popping out, nothing else. And then Dr. G tells Dr. R that this has been a robot made from stuff from several different universes, all colliding to make one robot to wipe out and conquer the entire universe. And says that and then Dr. G tells Dr. R that if they can find a way to transform Sonic's DNA by like using one of his hairs and putting and transferring that into Metal Sonic. Or how about, at first, we don't want to really call him that. We'll just call him Project. We'll call him Project X at first. That's what he'll be called at first. Like, I don't want Metal Sonic to be like exposed right away. So we'll say Project X. That's what he'll be. Dr. G will call him. Then he will be unstoppable and could destroy an entire world with using like 1% of its power. So then Dr. R, Dr. G, and that latte coffee person all come up with a plan. So Dr. R and Dr. G and the coffee guy, they come up with a plan where they're gonna be able to unlock Project Shadow by breaking into like that underground basement, like the secret lab where Project Shadow is. And then use him to fight off Team Sonic so he can get Sonic's DNA and give it back to Dr. R and Dr. G so they can make Metal Sonic and then portray Shadow and then rule the world, which is a part of their plan. So then Dr. R and Dr. G have to end up breaking through and they end up getting to Project Shadow by all working together. They end up unlocking Project Shadow and then Shadow comes out. And eventually Shadow becomes furious, punches open the chamber where he is and he gets out and he's furious. He wants to know where he is and he wants to escape. And then Dr. R, Dr. G, and the coffee latte guy, whatever his name is, and they all tell him that they set him free because they need his help. And Shadow, knowing that they just set him free, he offers their help, and then they both set a deal where Shadow has to take care of Team Sonic. And eventually, Team Sonic's having fun till they get an alert that a mysterious black hedgehog is going out and causing a rampage for the city, looking for them, and then Team Sonic tries fighting them. Knuckles goes in for the punch. Shadow blocks it, kicks Knuckles, and ends up landing in and ends up kicking him like 50 feet away. Then goes down, teleports up while throws Tails by its tail, and just starts beating up Team Sonic. Eventually, they're going to be able to get the upper hand by their teamwork. Knuckles is able to distract Shadow with his strength. Tails is able to get up high to get Shadow's attention, while Sonic is able to roll him with the super speed and get the hits. However, eventually, Shadow starts getting more aware of them and starts being able to teleport all over the place and ultimately win the fight. Shadow takes Sonic's hair, grabs it, and gets the piece of DNA and then teleports away. Not only that, however, Shadow's also able to grab a hair of Knuckles for the project. Because he's supposed to do that. Sorry, I didn't add that in earlier. Eventually, Shadow teleports back, gives Dr. R the hair of Knuckles and Sonic. He adds it. He gives it. Dr. G says he can handle it, put the DNA in, and fix the programming. They do that, and then Dr. R tells Shadow that now he can just do whatever he wants. Anyways, though, this still leaves Shadow angry because he remembers his past on what he's gone through. So he goes back into the city to cause a rampage for real. Eventually, though, this leads Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. So yeah, Team Sonic goes to Tom, the Donut Man himself, and all the police department to help them stop Shadow because he's became too big of a threat for Team Sonic to handle. And they say yes to the offer, so they go out the search and stop Shadow from his rampage. Anyways, Team Sonic goes at Shadow. They all attack him at once. Eventually, though, it's too much for Team Sonic to handle. The police department comes to try stopping it. However, it just makes Shadow more mad. And then he starts attacking all the police department. And then it leads to where it's just him and Tom. Tom screams from help from Sonic. He wants to shoot his gun that he has, however, he just saw that Shadow can teleport, so he's too scared that Shadow could teleport and then it would end up hitting Sonic, who's just worn out, laying on the ground beside Shadow. Sonic is trying to get the last bit of energy he can, however, it's too late because of all the anger that's built up. Shadow had to let it go as he ends up eliminating Tom. Sonic kept trying to get up, however, he can't. He's still trying to avenge Tom and get up, however, he just can't. The Shadow takes him, throws him up in the air, and slams him down again. And as Sonic is laying there, Shadow calls him pathetic, and then takes him up, throws him away from him like 50 feet away, and then just continues to go on a rampage. Eventually, though, Knuckles and Tails are able to get up, help Sonic up. They have to try coming up with a plan to stop it, and then Sonic comes up with the idea. Sonic says that Knuckles and Tails need to continue to try holding off Shadow and distract them for a little, as Sonic will go after to get back the Chaos Emerald. And then we end up learning that Knuckles and Tails and Sonic all decided to hide a Chaos Emerald and put it with tons of traps that make it very risky to escape. However, of Tails' inventions. However, Sonic decides that he must go through it as what it takes to get the Chaos Emeralds. In this, Knuckles and Tails go off to try holding off Shadow. Sonic goes after his mission to get the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic ends up being able to get his hand on the Chaos Emeralds. He takes all the emeralds, he powers him up, and it seems like he's gonna turn into Super Sonic. However, something happens. All the emeralds turn into black, and as his body starts to turn into black, yeah, it's all black. And then he opens his hollow white eyes and turns into Dark Sonic. All of the anger of seeing Tom gone has built up to him. It drove him crazy. He's even more angry than Shadow at this point. And now he's just ready to go on a rampage of its own. As the power and the loss has corrupted him, and he turns into Dark Sonic. He's able to move twice as fast as he could as normal Sonic. And he goes to quickly see Shadow on a rampage, and he sees Knuckles and Tails knocked out on the ground. Sonic goes up, runs full speed, kicks Shadow, and launches him all across the entire city, and lands through multiple buildings and eventually lands to the ground. Shadow tries to get up, however he can't. Dark Sonic's moving way too fast. Punches him in the face several times over and over again. Picks him up, tries slamming him up in the air and slamming him down. However, Shadow's able to get a hold of him, reverse it, and then slam Dark Sonic to the ground. And then they just keep going in a crazy fight. As in Dark Sonic and Shadow use all of their energy and they're fighting. Sonic is screaming how he can't stand Shadow, and then Shadow's saying that he has respect for Sonic. It's just he can't stand the world. And they're both fighting with absolute anger for all the ones they've lost. And when it would seem like one has the upper hand, the other one would just respond back, and it keeps on going over and over again until they're both worn out. Dark Sonic runs as fast as he can for like 20 seconds to a whole nother city on the west coast. Shadow teleports to a whole nother city on the east coast. Then they both jump, go as fast as they can, and they bring all their energy into one punch and hit each other with full force. Causes like a huge earthquake all over, causes a giant power outage. Then we see normal Sonic knocked out with all the Chaos Emeralds laying on the ground. And then we see Shadow with lights out too, as it cuts back to Dr. R's lab. So then we go back to Dr. R's lab. Just like I said, this takes place like a few hours after the huge explosion. It's like an underground layer though. And then they're working on Metal Sonic, and then they're able to get the DNA and the whole system in it. And they're gonna finally make Metal Sonic. As in Dr. G is in the Metal Sonic, a dark figure of Sonic with red glowing eyes walks out. Dr. G puts in the Chaos Emerald, then all the emeralds just start, and then after that, we see like Metal Sonic start turning blue into like Sonic, and then he fully transforms into Metal Sonic. And then after he turns into Metal Sonic, he says that he was programmed to only protect two fiends, which is him and Dr. G. Then Dr. Robotnik acts shocked, confused, and frightened by what he says. Then he sees Metal Sonic look at Robotnik with spikes coming out of his arms, with laser vision, like red glowing eyes and all that stuff. And then Dr. Robotnik takes a deep breath, and he turns to Dr. G and says, "Why'd you do this? You're my grandpa. You betrayed me." And he says, "Evil geniuses can't work together. You've done this before, and now all of the actions that you've done and the damage you've done to the world is now coming back to you." It's then Robotnik and the coffee guy person takes one last deep breath. He tells Dr. G that you may have programmed Metal Sonic. However, you can never replace or do even close to that you could. Dr. Robotnik tells his grandpa that Even though he's 2 generations older than him, he couldn't do anything close of what he's done already on the Earth, even if he's programmed Metal Sonic. And then he says that. He will eventually be back. And then Metal Sonic ends up eliminating Dr. Robotnik and that coffee latte person for Dr. Robotnik. And then he looks at the wall right by them. He does laser vision, and then he engraves the words into the wall. This is how he got his name. Well, in the movie at least. This is how I think he should get his name. Metal Sonic. Then he looks up into the ceiling. He says this is his mission, and it's time for him to do what nobody else could have. Time to do what Dr. Robotnik could only dream of doing. As he flies through the lair and then chases after Dark Sonic and Shadow. And then as Sonic is able to take the Chaos Emeralds back, and with his anger still there, he's able to turn back into Dark Sonic and then get back up. And then Shadow's able to get back up. They both look up at each other. However, they notice something in the sky. Well, Shadow notices something behind Dark Sonic. And then there it is, Metal Sonic ready for war. Shadow tells Dark Sonic that there's something behind him. He looks at it, and he gets so mad that people are always getting in the way of his moment. Dark Sonic then runs really forward, then runs really back so quick, then punches Metal Sonic with all his might, and then blasts him all the way, real far down, like 3 miles down in the city. And then Dark Sonic looks back at Shadow, ready to go for war. However, Metal Sonic flies back at Dark Sonic, punches him with all of his energy, and makes Dark Sonic literally go flying all across the city and literally knocks the Chaos Emeralds of him. The Sonic barely has time to turn back into Dark Sonic as he gets hit with a laser vision by Metal Sonic. Then Shadow teleports, tries grabbing Metal Sonic, however he grabs him back with his claw, then hits Shadow with a punch with spikes on his fist, then turns his entire body into spikes, then just flies into Shadow, then gets back up, grabs Shadow, flies up to the sky, and then slams him back down to the ground. And then while Metal Sonic is up in the sky, he blasts Shadow with laser beams. As Dark Sonic's barely able to even get up at his feet, he's tired of it. He shouts at Metal Sonic to attack him some more. Metal Sonic flies over, and then just starts tackling to the ground and starts beating him up with spiked punches onto the ground. Then brings Dark Sonic up to the sky, uses his energy to punch him down, which slams him to the ground. Uses the same attack to Shadow, like the laser beam up from high. And then turns his body into spikes and just goes up from the sky and dives onto Dark Sonic, and that literally knocks the emeralds out of him again. And then as Metal Sonic gets his hands on some more Chaos Emeralds. Shadow's able to teleport and stop. Shadow's able to launch Metal Sonic up and then slam him back down to the ground. Slam him back down to the ground. Shadow is able to knock into a few punches. However, eventually, it can't hold Metal Sonic down for long as he's able to start blocking the punches and start countering with attacks. And eventually outpowers Shadow. And then it comes to a point where Metal Sonic is beating up Shadow again. Sonic can literally not do anything. He's still knocked out cold. Eventually, Metal Sonic throws Shadow and he ends up landing on top of Sonic, who's laying by the Chaos Emeralds. Shadow's about to try getting the Chaos Emeralds and power-ups, however, Sonic is able to stop Shadow as he slowly gets up. He tries telling Shadow that it's his emeralds. However, Shadow tells him that we stand no chance against Metal Sonic and that he needs to have the Chaos Emeralds if he wants to win this. Sonic's still mad about the whole thing with Tom and he will not let it happen. However, they can't stop and they can't talk forever as Metal Sonic's from behind takes Shadow and hits him with a laser vision. And then he proceeds to start laying a beating on Shadow as Sonic tries to slowly get back up from the ground. Eventually, Sonic's able to get back into Dark Sonic and is able to hold off Metal Sonic for a little, however he gets back and knocked into the ground. Eventually, Shadow's able to teleport and tells Sonic he needs to just trust him on this one and he'll give him back the Chaos Emerald. And Sonic tells him he can't. And after what he did to Tom, Shadow says he's not Shadow tells him that he's not just fighting for Sonic, but he's fighting for both of us. And that sure, they have their disagreements. However, Metal Sonic is the biggest threat to society and Sonic needs to trust him on this one. Sonic says, would he rather risk the death of humanity or guarantee it? Because we both know that we're not going to be able to win this one. Eventually, Sonic hesitantly gives Shadow the Chaos Emeralds. However, it's too late because Metal Sonic hits them with laser vision, spike attacks, like just launching spikes from his fists, and literally hitting them with missiles from afar. However, it seems like Shadow has protected Sonic, or whoever. Eventually, though, we see an all-white hedgehog walk out. And no, it's not Hypersonic. However, as it walks out, it slowly starts turning into gold, and then it opens its eyes.
The 7 Chaos Emeralds.
It is Super Shadow that walks out, turns into. He asks Metal Sonic if that's all he got. He's grabbing his knee, though. His knee is in pain. However, Metal Sonic tries to hit him with laser vision. However, he blows out energy and it deflects it. He ends up teleporting behind him, launches him in the air. Then, he ends up turning into 10 versions of himself. He clones himself, and then all of the super shadows just start throwing him in the air, then knocking him down and just playing with Metal Sonic. They end up knocking Metal Sonic down. Metal Sonic's arms start to fall off. Then Super Shadow flies up in the air, flies down at Metal Sonic with his fist going full power, Metal Sonic uses his laser vision to stop him. And then his arms start regrowing as he charges up energy. They give Super Shadow a punch too, and then a huge explosion happens, kind of like the Dark Sonic and Shadow, except even worse. Shadow goes flying in the air. So does the Chaos Emeralds, as Sonic couldn't really get a glimpse to see what happened to Metal Sonic. Sonic rushes over and sees Shadow. He's knocked out with all the Chaos Emeralds knocked out of him. Sonic collects him, and then Shadow's able to barely get up as himself. And then after Sonic helps Shadow get up, for a while they see Metal Sonic, all of his scraps have fallen off, and he's absolutely crushed except the Chaos Emeralds. And then Shadow hands over his Chaos Emerald to him and says, "I told you I'd give you it back." And then Sonic says, "You know what? You can keep it. I already have mine right here." Then he grabs Metal Sonic's Chaos Emerald. And then Shadow tells Sonic they need to have a talk. Then they go up to a nice view of the city so they can have a talk. Shadow tells Sonic they have a whole lot more in common than Sonic actually knows. Shadow tells Sonic his backstory about how he had a human best friend too. However, Shadow got trapped and captured and lost his best friend forever and was forced to live in a prison, in a secret, in a lab as a Project Shadow, and was forced to suffer and always had that built-in anger. And he told Sonic, "Just as you had that anger to become Dark Sonic, I had that anger to become the person I didn't want, as we both became persons we didn't want because of anger, of not letting go." Sonic tells Shadow thank you for telling him about that and thank you for saving him. However, he won't ever be able to know Shadow in any other way besides the person who killed Tom, and that he's ruined everything. And as they look at the view of the city that has been broken and absolutely destroyed, and then Shadow says that he's had enough and that it's time for him to go into a different world. He can't teleport out of this world because he can't fully picture it and know where he's going. So then Sonic gives him a ring for help. He just tells him to picture what world you're trying to go to, then just throw it. Shadow does that. They tell each other goodbye. And then to close out the movie, we see Shadow's point of view where he steps into the ring and watches as the ring gets smaller and smaller as Sonic waves goodbye. Then that's the end. That's how it all went down. I think I made that really good movie. Well, I'll see the movie in the theaters and I'll decide if I like it more. Then after the extra credit scene, Shadow walks into the world, and that becomes the original Sonic map, actually. That sets up for the final number 4 movie. And then he sees Amy and a bunch of other side characters. And he asks them for help, and they offer to show him around the place. Anyways, that is the end of the video. If that's how the movie actually went, that would have to be like a 3 to 4 hour movie. That would have to be a real long movie. However, I would definitely watch that. That could be like my favorite movie of all time if that actually goes down. I think that would be really sick. However, tell me what you think about it. if you've watched the movie in theaters yet. If it took me 40 minutes, well, probably like 20 minutes, because all the filler in this video and stuff. They just explain the plot of what I hope it would be. Imagine how long the movie would actually be if it goes out as I planned. Anyways, though, I feel like that was a successful video. It's getting really late, so I really need to go to bed. Or just, get into pajamas or something, because literally I am still in the L'Jarius Sneed Oilers jersey right now. Man, just having a fun time because winter break's here and all that stuff. Anyways, though, Tines Nation, have a wonderful day. Be kind, God bless you, and always remember that Jesus loves you. Thank you for watching, guys. Seriously, though, always remember that Jesus loves you. Amen.